Hi, my name is Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer, and every single Friday I give you a top-down macro analysis video. We're going to go over Bitcoin, total 3, Bitcoin dominance, Tether dominance, the DXY, S&P futures, the NASDAQ, and another coin that I think is going to get you going, something that you may want to pay attention to that is very relevant for what's going to happen in the next week. So stay tuned for more, and stay tuned towards the end so you can find out what I am talking about. You won't want to miss it. Okay, welcome. We're going to look at Bitcoin here on the daily. Now, the daily, the 200 is such a big, significant idea. The 200 MA on the daily, it's a really big moving average, right? When you lose it, it really can define the beginning of a downtrend. All the bear markets defined by Bitcoin is when we lose the daily 200 SMA and then we're under it for a prolonged period of time. To me, a bear market is just price action trending lower below a 200 MA for more than a few weeks, and then you're starting to enter a either significant pullback or a bear market. So if we lose the 200 SMA here, there's a chance, we're in a significant pullback, or, could we be entering some type of black swan event or something? So we're kind of at a very key point in Bitcoin's life right now. Does it break, off of this trend line here on the daily and bounce back to the top? Or does it bear flag and further drop to the downside? For the last 4 or 5 days now on Bitcoin's really just been in chop, range bound from a low of about 60,000 to a high of about 62.5, really just kind of going up and down. To me, it started to make more of a bear flag than anything else. That could send it losing the 200 MA and further down here to $47,000. It could even stop for maybe one time at 51, 52, but it suggests that there's more downside for Bitcoin. We really don't want to lose the 200 SMA here. We really desperately need a bounce. The 4-hour also suggests that we're going to go lower. And even right now, if you just look at the 4-hour, unless we get some type of weird miracle, the probability is pretty high that Bitcoin wants to make a move further to the downside out of this bear flag and to drop at least to this key level at about 55,000, 56. So, so here's the deal. I'm not saying that a long can't happen, but I would not long unless I see Bitcoin back above 62,000. I'd say 300, 62.2. I'll call it 62.3. Once you break above 62.3, you can start to go after these resistance points and maybe flip the 200 SMA. We're going to be watching, the 1 minute closely throughout the day, even though this is macro analysis. If you're watching today to see what can happen, because it's macro analysis, but we're on a very key point. And if we lose that level, so I want to see the smaller time frames. For instance, if you just see us continue sideways like this in the 1 hour, it's likely that 4 hours is going to take over and we are going to get the drop. But if the 1 hour can break back above 62.3 and get above the 200 SMA, there's a chance we could actually start some type of recovery here for Bitcoin. So I'd be watching the 1 hour closely and the 200 MA. That is really going to be your guide to if we get a move further to the upside or not. Moving forward, we're going to look at total. Total is the entire market cap of all of cryptocurrencies. And we're going to look at total on a big time frame, like the weekly, right? And we're going to look at some key levels that matter for total. I've been watching total on the weekly, and in my mind, it's been consolidating. Same story really as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has a lot of the dominance right now. So if we get a bounce, we need a bounce here off the top of this channel and then consolidate tightly. If that happens, it's kind of a shoulder, head, right shoulder, tight, and there's a chance we start to break on out and we get to $3.7 trillion, and we get a pretty big move here. You do not want to see us go lower, in my humble opinion, than this bottom out area at about $2.31 trillion. So we're going to watch the weekly, right? It is getting more oversold, and, you'd like to see this double bounce here finally, and you don't want to lose these lows. So we're watching the total market cap. We'd like to see this continue to consolidate. Right now, it actually looks like it's a little more bullish than Bitcoin, and it can consolidate a little flatter here. This would be a very, very bullish sign for the total market cap. So it's not all bad for total. Bitcoin's struggling a little bit, but Solana also getting a big bump with the talk about the Solana ETF and, big news for that. So that's actually bringing more money into the market as well, and it's leaving Bitcoin and going into Solana. We saw that, the last few days with Tether dominance losing as well as Bitcoin dominance, but then watching the Sol BTC chart eventually make some gains. And we'll talk about that as well. Total 3 is the market cap of all of the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. When we look at total 3 on the weekly, same scenario, right? We're in these flags. The only thing is the flags are a little bigger and more slanted. The flags are a little more slanted to the downside. They're a little more vertical, right? You can see total is more sideways. This flag's more like, okay, we take away this. We need basically this flag to act as a bull flag and eventually make a nice move further to the upside. So and again, everything's looking for this bounce in the next 2-3 days. If we don't get the bounce, like Bitcoin falls down, could lose the 200 on the daily. If that happens, these start to come down and test these key levels. So you really want to see this bounce here. You want to see this flag get tight on the macro so this can break out. If this happens, you have a really big measured move here. And that it will propel us through the all-time high and then back into the safe zone and almost to the $1 trillion mark for these altcoins, somewhere at $988 billion. So, if we lose this level, we'll bounce possibly off the 200 SMA. But, golden cross on the weekly, tight moving averages starting to get pushed out. It really says that the altcoins are just getting started. There's a cup and handle here. We just may have one more little dip or pullback before a bigger move. But this also looks somewhat bullish on the weekly. We're more oversold. We're in the flag. We just need that one big volume catalyst to kind of push us further to the upside. Let's take a look at the DXY and see what's happening to the dollar index. As I said earlier on stream, we were watching it closely, getting tight inside of this rising wedge. We'd like to see the 1 hour or the 4 hour lose these key levels, but so far it looks like the 4 hour may be getting a bounce here to the upside. The 1 hour also in this, falling wedge. It's kind of weird because the DXY and Bitcoin would almost pump together for a little bit if you did get this bump. I've seen it happen. They've dumped together, they've pumped together, but eventually they uncorrelate and they become, basically inversely correlated. It's only a matter of time. When we're looking at this here, the DXY could pump up and get to 107.80. That would be, a big move. And I don't know, that would probably spell a dump for Bitcoin. So we're watching this closely. And what we really want to see is eventually this slump, bearish retest. We want to lose the 200 on the 1 hour, and we want to come further to these circled areas here, somewhere down here. So, if that happens, I don't see how Bitcoin doesn't react somewhat positively. So the DXY is looking pretty strong, though, stronger than I'd like it to. And you really, once it breaks resistance here at 106.15, we could have some trouble on our hands. So we're really at a very, very close moment. Either the DXY makes a huge move, we lose our level, or the DXY dumps out of this and we get our pump, right? Odds are that the falling wedge does break to the upside 68% of the time if you make it really simple. But there's a lot going on at the present moment. We take a look at Bitcoin dominance, all right? And Bitcoin dominance really is going to focus on how much money is flowing in and out of Bitcoin compared to the rest of the altcoins. We recently had a little bit of a drop in Bitcoin dominance, and we are kind of slipping a little bit here. You can see we're kind of almost like we bearishly retested this trend line one more time, and we're red again. We could easily bounce back in, and we could kind of play with the idea that we're still inside the channel. You don't, again, just like Bitcoin, you don't want to lose the daily 200 SMA, right? You do that, that means that a lot of people are rushing out of Bitcoin and we're into some type of black swan strange event. There is some weird indications that that's a little more possible than I want to lead on. So there is some, because look, if we lose that level, we drop. That's a nasty drop. And what would cause that to drop so fast, right? And Bitcoin dominance to lose that much. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but it definitely is possible. So, all right. Now you see this, and this can bounce up. So you're looking for the Bitcoin dominance to bounce sooner than later. If you start to get this to drop, that's maybe could foretell and foreshadow that, if we lose the point of control on Bitcoin dominance, that could foreshadow a nasty drop for Bitcoin. We're definitely at a very key place. Look, tether dominance just breaks back above the 200 on the daily. We know that's a go-to sign for me for bullishness. Why is tether dominance so bullish, right? It's telling us something. So we need to either lose this 200 pretty fast or this flag is going to prevail. And it looks to me like the flag's more bullish than bearish. So that spells, it looks like we're going to get a pretty nasty drop here for Bitcoin. I'm being honest, I could be wrong, but these indications are telling me that we're going to get a pretty nasty drop for Bitcoin. And we're going to go back to 56, 52, and there's going to be some pain here. And again, some of that money may flow into Bitcoin, into altcoins. It may not be the worst, but it definitely looks like tether dominance is starting to get a run up and it could start to get a bit of a pump here. watch out. If Bitcoin dominance loses that falling wedge and breaks down and this pumps out of the flag, it means that people are going to be running out of altcoins and out of Bitcoin into Tether. And, I'm already tethering up. Remember today I said I'm in Tether a little more, and I already can see it a little before people because I want to see the levels get back and have everything get back together again. Then I'll start feeling better about the market. I also have such low DCAs that I don't need to go that low. Like I've already DCA'd way before these prices. So I can stop now, wait for the market to get healthier before I decide to DCA back in again. Okay. And this is giving me indications that I may be correct here and stacking some Tether. And so I'm just warning you that I am stacking Tether the last few days more than I had been. And there's got to be a reason for that. My instincts, my trader probabilities are starting to come up and say, hey, pay attention, Sam. Pay attention. Okay. So that's Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance, Tether dominance, right? Total 3. And now we can move on to S&P futures, right? And see what's happening there. I talked about them being in a flag and they just had to come back to that 21, and I showed you the flag. We even got a little bit of a bump up there, but I think it's just a longer term play here and making the flag look more comfortable. But over time, I see this as just continuing and eventually getting a big move to the upside. They're printing money, and, it says you're going to. Now, these usually pump with Bitcoin when the S&P pumps, but right now we've been having some, different issues. Again, no governments are loading up and selling the S&P, but governments are selling Bitcoin, So it's telling me there is some issues in the market, and we may get some more pullbacks for Bitcoin. You never know. But this looks beautiful. S&P looks like it's going to continue to make the flag we talked about last week right here. Look, it's been 7 days. We projected this flag for you. So far, you have been sideways. I told you were going to stick sideways until you got back to the 21. So far, that has all come to fruition if you've been watching me. And, stick with me. I'm going to make some pretty awesome predictions here. I called the bottom for the S&P both times. These cup and handles and the 3-day hidden bullish divergence really played out. And so I've been very accurate with the S&P. So keep watching what we talk about here with the S&P. NASDAQ futures tends to follow along. We have the same idea here. The flag here on the daily, make the flag a little smaller possibly. The 21 coming into play. And it just says once these get all tight again and the 21 comes back in, I don't see how this flag doesn't break out and we continue to pump just like the S&P. So they're going to print money. We're going into September, October, and more money flowing in. And I see just, inflation getting worse, more money getting printed, and all assets valued in the dollar going up over time. So, and this is also showing us that the NASDAQ is making a flag and will respond positively to the monetary conditions of them continuously to print money. So, and that's, the NASDAQ. One thing I also want to look at is Sol BTC, but that's not the coin that I want to show you. We're going to look at Sol BTC, but I also want to show you something else. So you can see Sol BTC did break above the 200 SMA, and then it got a massive pump here. So look, just show you. It breaks above the 200, got a huge pump yesterday, came back down to reality a bit against Bitcoin. Now they're both kind of falling together, but delete everything here. But the Sol BTC chart on the daily still looks somewhat healthy to me. May come down, but I see it in the long run eventually beating up. But right now it says they may drop together, come back up. I'm not saying, it's invincible, but might get a bounce there too as well, or even lower. But eventually, long term, I do see Sol Bitcoin, Sol beating up on Bitcoin. I got to talk about Caspo with the, Casplex, which is, want to go to casplex.org and find out more and just look at what's happening with Caspo. While Bitcoin slumps and plays games, Caspa continues to pump. It's right near its all-time high. It's inside of an ascending triangle. I would be paying attention to Caspa. Their meme, KRC20 coins are coming out. That happens on the 30th where you can mint, and that's, we've seen it drive Solana. We've seen it drive every chain. I don't see how it doesn't push us into 2021 and, 20 to 21 cents. Caspa's consolidating really nicely right now as we speak. Could be the big play of the day. I would watch Caspa very closely, and it's been really doing whatever it wants compared to Bitcoin. So Caspa, awesome. Also, if you look at CASPBTC, right, which I think they only have on CoinEx and on KuCoin. But if you look at that, you can see Caspa likely beating up on Bitcoin as well, and it has been a little bit of a dip there, but ever since it broke out of this, you could say, diagonal resistance, I mean, look at that beautiful move for Caspa against BTC. And there could be more coming here, too, for Caspa BTC. How big of a move was that? Let's take a look. I'm always curious to see how much gains you would have had 34%. That's pretty nice on the quadruple sevens too, which is strange, always showing up. Everybody, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. That's going to be your weekly macro technical analysis video. Going to break down all the different aspects of different markets and kind of keep you up to date every single Friday. Come back to this video, reset, take a deep breath, see where you're at. It will help you, I believe, manage your emotions, see the market clearer, and not get too caught up in the day-to-day. I love you. I appreciate you. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. Remember, if you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. Crypto is life.